Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We had to mute the mic and unmute it. I don't know why.
All right, so yes, Katie says yes. Welcome everybody to Get Organized Challenge number 3, photo sorting. And if you're new to the Get Organized Challenge, this, or if you've been around for a while, I guess, this used to come later in the challenge when we did project planning and memento sorting. And we bumped it to early in the challenge because so many of us are overwhelmed with photos. It's giving us more time to kind of do a little bit each week to get the challenge done. So photo sorting is our mission this week. And let's jump right in with the winner, the winning post for this week. So remember, or if you're new, each week, if you put a progress post up on the Facebook page or email in a progress post, you get entered into a drawing and we choose one progress post and that person gets a gift certificate. Woo, woo. So you definitely want to do that. Plus, posting your progress keeps you motivated and accountable to your goals. So week number 2, progress post winner, Teresa Roberts. Congratulations, Teresa. Her progress post, I have worked so hard this week sorting and purging. Woo, woo. I had no idea I had so much paper. I had it tucked away in so many bins, boxes, and files. It was like finding new paper. I feel so much better. I have my own craft room, but I've outgrown it now. The paper handlers work great with the dividers. I'm going back and tweak the rainbow section, filing from light to dark with my cardstock. Just want to make progress. Love the system. I love the groups and the picks and the advice. Sorry, I'm trying to keep track of Katie here too. That is awesome. And then she put it up a picture. So if you're part of the Facebook group, I'm assuming that's where this came from, not an email. It looks like it was from Facebook. There is a post of all her nice, neat, and tidy paper in paper storage boxes and paper handlers. Over the course of the week, one of the biggest questions was about purging and getting that purging done and how to do it. And there are a couple of helpful posts on the website and a video, and I think there's even a podcast on there. So if you are someone who struggles with getting rid of things, hopefully that information will help. And also, don't be afraid to ask for motivation and inspiration from the Facebook group, right? Like all of us love to be helpful if we can. And so if somebody can inspire and motivate you to do something that's going to help you enjoy crafting more, we're all in. So don't be afraid to bring that up. Also, one funny comment from the Get Organized Challenge from Shelly Kirk. She says, so I am either really out of shape or paper sorting is a form of exercise for the core. I feel like I've done 100 sit-ups. So, and isn't that true? Especially if you're moving your paper around. You know, a sheet of paper doesn't weigh anything, but a couple hundred sheets of paper, it gets pretty heavy. So glad you're meeting your exercise goals while you're paper sorting, Shelly. Okay, so our goal this week is to come up with a strong system for sorting, storing, and organizing both digital and printed photos. So if you only have printed or you only have digital, we're going to go through both things today, and you're going to see how similar the two systems are. Just one happens in the real world and one happens in the digital world. So your very first step is to gather those photos together. Last week we started with gathering paper. The week before that we started with gathering everything. Gather your photos together. That's almost always step 1 in the Get Organized Challenge, is just sort of getting those things together. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, perfect is the enemy of good. Try and find all the photos that you can. Look in your desk drawer and what's on top of the refrigerator, what's in the junk drawer in the kitchen, what's in the side pocket door of your car, right? What pictures did you pick up and stuff them in the side pocket or put them in the glove box? Bring everything together in one place. That always makes it a little bit easier, and you get a really strong sense of the progress you're making, which is super helpful to your brain. Same thing with your computer. You want to gather all of those photos together in one place on your computer. There are a few different programs out there that will do it for you, different for the Mac versus the PC. I don't, y'all are going to laugh at me. I just use files. I don't use anything special. I just have I download all the photos off my camera right into files, which is the tip we're going to talk more about that later. When I initially did it though, I used a program called Picasa. and it pulled everything from all over my computer and brought it into the photo files. So something like that is going to work really good for you. There are a couple of different ones out there. Hopefully members of the group here who have something they love can share that also in Facebook, a photo organizing program that they really like. I personally have found it easiest once I knew where all the photos were to just have that file on my computer that's photos, and then add files into that and label, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Okay, step 2, we're going to talk about physical photos. You want to avoid getting overwhelmed. So your first step should be to go through your photos in big groups and in storage boxes. So I have my little cheat notes here about what this process looks like for physical photos. And it's just a little bit different for photos. So first you're gonna get them all just into boxes, right? You're just gonna corral all of them together. Now, what type of box can you use? Anything you want. You can use regular photo storage boxes like this from the big box retailers. You can use plastic, shoebox size totes. You can use the 4x6 and 5x7 and larger fab files, whatever it is. You just want to bring everything together and get it into manageable quantities, right? So I'm not a fan of huge boxes of photos because when you look in them, they're overwhelming, and that's what you want to avoid. So this size, probably, I'm going to say that this is going to hold like 1,200 photos. That's still a lot. These are going to hold 300 photos. But I would say this max size, right? You want to be able to take that box of photos off the shelf when you start the second phase of sorting and not be overwhelmed just looking into it. So that's your first thing to do, is just get them together and label those boxes need to sort, right? Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to, as you go through and sort them, now you're going to put them into major groups by year, and you're going to label that box. These are by year. So if as you're gathering, you can start doing that second step, it's going to be helpful as you go through. Then you're going to sort, the next phase is to sort by months or events within that year. And then the last thing, this is ready to scrap, R2S, and we're going to talk more about that. These are grouped by event, and they are the things that you're actually going to scrap about. So what's important to remember is you're probably not going to scrapbook all of those pictures that you have. You're going to scrapbook the things that are important to you. You're going to scrapbook to tell your story, but you're not necessarily going to scrapbook everything. And I think that's important also for your brain. And if you tell yourself that, remember, your brain only believes what you tell it to believe, right? That's a strange concept for people, but that is how you move yourself forward. You commit to something, you tell yourself what you're going to do. That is literally telling your brain what is going to work. So the same thing as you're moving forward with photos, don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Don't think that you have to scrapbook everything. And don't think you have to scrapbook in any particular order. That was one of the very first challenges for me with scrapbooking. When I first started scrapbooking and I started writing articles, I wrote an article for a magazine that used to be out called Snapshot Memories. I'm sure I have it. Maybe I'll scan it or something and have Katie put it up. But it was called Scrap Traps, and it was all the reasons that I didn't, all the mental reasons that kept me from actually scrapbooking. And one of them was that I felt like I had to scrapbook in chronological order, or wasn't right. And it took a while for me to get over that hump and decide I don't have to do that. I can scrapbook about whatever I want, and then I can just add pages in front or behind of the scrapbooks, because I do like my scrapbooks to end up in chronological order. So you don't have to do any of this in order like that, because you are going to end up putting it all in order. So that's your very first step for photos. The next thing you're going to do, and we talked a little bit about this before, is create that family timeline. Now, actually, create the family timeline should probably come first so that you have something to write on. So when I talk about creating a family timeline, there are so many ways to do it. You can literally make a timeline like this and hang it on your wall or tape it down to your workspace. And as you come across pictures and solve things like, what year was London a pirate for Halloween? What year did Max win leap stakes at his lower school leap stakes competition? All of that stuff. And then you fill it in as you go. So you can do it literally like this. You can create just small index cards and just keep those same notes. The reason you're doing this is twofold. One, as you come across, let's use leap stakes as an example. As you come across some pictures from leap stakes and you're like, you figure that out. Okay, that was 2004, Max won that. I'm going to put it there. Then as I come across other things about that event, maybe it's more pictures, maybe it's a ribbon that he won, whatever it is, I don't have to rethink it. I can just go to my timeline and go, oh yeah, that was in 2000 and whatever I said, 2002, whatever it was. And I can just go right to that section and file those pictures. So the family timeline is, as you fill it in, it's going to make it easier and easier to sort photos, also mementos. Also, when you're journaling for scrapbooking, it's going to make it that much easier. So you can do it this way. You can do it in a notebook. You can make yourself, little index cards by the year, or you can do something. This is what we talked about. I guess I didn't talk about it last week. I talked about it when I was doing photo sorting. I did a little photo sorting video the other day where I used this. So this is a family timeline, and it is just a notebook of what happened when, and I just kind of add things in it as I go. It's a great place to use up some of your old stickers and other craft supplies, but it's nothing fancy. But every time I come across something, and I've added a few pictures in there also, right? We all have extra pictures. So let's see if I can find a page that's got some, right? So going back here, and then there's a picture of London and Mac. That was a trip that we took. So just for fun. So it's a reference point, it's a reference book. It's almost like a smash book, but at the same time, it serves that purpose of being able to go back and reference each of the things that you've recorded. So, and it works great, obviously, for journaling when you're actually doing your scrapbooking pages as well. And it keeps everything sort of lined up for you. So creating family timeline is going to be really helpful. Then you're going to create some sorting guides for those photos. So here's an example of a sorting guide. The year, and then there are major things that happened in that year listed right here, right? So this is what I'm going to spread out over my desk. Hopefully I'm going to say 2010, 2009, 2010, 2011. Those are the pictures I'm sorting. And I'm going to be able to go through and say, okay, we went on spring break. So here's my other thing. I don't know if you can see this clearly. SB means spring break, 40J, 4th of July. August, that's vacation. September, big things that happen. Down here, it says there's some other little codes. LT was started in 7th grade, 7th and 8th grade. It was his 13th birthday that year. Max was in 5th and 6th grade. It was his 11th birthday that year. That seems dumb, right? Like, what do you mean you can't remember how old your kids were in what year? When you're sorting and organizing, you want to keep things as simple as possible all the time. So things like what grade they were in, or maybe what team they played on, all of that information, if you can log it on there, when you're sorting, it's going to be that much easier, right? So this is a complement to your timeline, but it's also the physical thing that you are going to sort pictures into those piles as you're working through sorting. You want to have this same thing so that when you're sorting digital pictures, you have the same point of reference. Now, the nice thing about digital pictures, I'm not finished talking about that, I guess. The nice thing about digital pictures is they have the date that they were taken in the metadata on the picture. So if you have, if you look at all those gobbledygook numbers on your photo that they download with, when you download from your phone, part of that is the date that the pictures were taken. But if you rename them and don't include the date, that gets lost. But it's right there in the metadata on your phone. If you click on your picture, For me, I'm a PC user, so I click on the picture, I click on properties, and it gives me that information. I'm not sure if it's different for Apple people or not, but there's lots of Apple people in the group. So if it is different, please share it in the group for everyone to know. I also have these sticky notes down the side here. So these are all the things I know happened that I want to sort and organize the pictures by. So I've just kind of pre-prepped my sticky notes, and these are just our large shut your flap tabs. You can use a small shut your flap tabs. You can use paper sticky notes. I don't like paper sticky notes because once they fold over, they bend and then they get folded and lost, right? So the plastic sticky notes, don't do that. We make them, other companies make them. I think that the price on ours is pretty reasonable, or at last look, ours were less expensive than what you were going to buy at Office Depot. I'll just say that. So shut your flap, either large or small. I use my label maker to label them just because I like the neatness and tidiness of it, but you can just write on them with a Sharpie. But now when I'm ready to sort these pictures, I have those tabs ready to go. So as I come across Christmas or Halloween or spring break, I can add that tab, and now I've kind of taken that sorting to another level quickly. I'm eliminating one step later as I'm going through and looking for that thing. All right. Step 4 is sort onto your sorting guides. So like I said, you're going to spread those sorting guides out. You're going to take your pile of photos and you're going to start sorting, right? Okay, so this is Moab, right? This is, 2010 trip to SeaWorld over here. This is Max's 11th birthday. Okay, so I've had a transition here now. Max turned 11. This is his birthday. I'm going to take that sticky note and I'm going to put it on there. So this isn't Max's birthday, but so that now I can start sorting into everything that was Max's birthday right in behind that sticky note. So whether I have it stacked up like this or whether it's the top thing, depending on or whether I'm going end to end, which is also helpful to go, this is this way, 4th of July. So now as I find more of those pictures, I'm going to say, oh, that's Max's birthday. Oh, this is 4th of July. Oh, now I found this is a Halloween photo. So now I'm going to start with Halloween. I'm going to go this way, next level sorting. And that is going to help me as I work through the pile. Now I'm not only getting it sorted chronologically, I'm also adding those labels for each of those events. So as you spread out your sorting templates and you start sorting, having your sticky notes ready to go, so you get that like second level sorting as you go, is going to make it that much easier. And again, you can use paper sticky notes or the plastic ones, or you could just make little dividers. I think in my experience, doing sticky notes has been the fastest and easiest way to do it. Now, what you might want to do is make a couple of like these are all kind of the same thing outside of birthdays, Halloween, Christmas, spring break, things that happen every year. So you could go ahead and make 10 Christmas ones and 10 Halloween all at the same time, and then you're prepped up and ready to go with your sorting when you're on it.
Mike, shut your flap tabs won't leave anything on the photos, will they?
They will not, but I know that freaks some people out, and if it does, then just take your shut your flap tab and put the label on the wrong side. So this is the sticky side. My label is on the non-sticky side. And then you can stick it on the back of your picture and it'll still say that. And then you don't have to worry about it. I've been using shut your flap tabs for years on my photos with no problem. But honestly, I'm not a chemist, and so I have no idea what that's about. But that's the easy solution. Instead of putting the label on especially if you're writing, right, stick it on there and then write the word on the opposite side, and then you can file behind it pretty easily that way as well. So, and then you don't have to worry about it on the sticky side. On the sticky side. So that's going to take you through the sorting and so the next step is sort your stacks of years into events. But doing the sticky note thing is going to eliminate that step, right? Because you're going to do it as you go. So if you're not using sticky notes, you're going to end up with a stack by year, and then you're going to take that year stack and sort it into events. versus using the sticky notes and pre-sorting it as you go. So I would definitely recommend doing that. When you're setting your pictures up for actual ready to scrap, so your first goal is to get your pictures together, then it's to get them sorted by year, then it's to get them sorted within that year by event. That is going to, and one of the common questions that I get, I have two questions here. Let's see if someone already asked it. Will we talk about purging photos? So hard to do that. Yes, we will talk about purging photos. Love the idea of ages and school year. Anita Gaffney says, I love the idea of ages and school year on your cheat notes. I don't know what it is, why it's so hard to do the math on birthdays, but it was always a challenge for me. You would think that's a simple thing, but anything that makes it easier, right? So you spend a little bit of effort doing this. What school year were they in? How old were they that year? It just makes it easier as you're going through. And if it's easy, it gets done. And if it's a pain in the neck, it doesn't. So invest the time up front to do your sorting guides, to get your timeline ready to go. And it will save you tons of time at the back end. And again, the more productive you are, the better you feel, which means you're going to get more done, get less overwhelmed, less frustrated, be able to keep moving through your project. Michelle Papadukas on Facebook says, so do you recommend taking photos out of the boxes or folders from the photo lab? Totally depends on what type of storage you are using. So if you are getting photos from the photo lab, they used to come with negatives. They don't anymore. So the negatives are kind of a non-issue. If you still have negatives, and you haven't invested in negative sleeves, they sell those at the camera shop, and then you can store your negatives safely if you want to continue doing that. There are services that are going to scan the negatives for you and make them digital, and then they're safer, and you can spread them around your digital world so you have backups and that sort of thing. When it comes to the photos, the pockets that they come in, possibly what's in that pocket is all the same event. And so they're kind of pre-sorted for you and ready to go.
I'm going to turn this off.
Oh, you guys, my air conditioner is making a weird noise. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but if you can hear like a weird noise, let us know, and then Lennon will turn off the AC so it's not making that noise, but it might not be picking up on the mic anyway. Okay, so if they're already ready to go, right? Are they going to fit in your box? Then becomes the question. So whatever box size you chose, is that folder going to fit in the box? And then they're already ready to go. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So that's going to kind of be a personal preference thing. For me, I would take them out because I like everything matchy-matchy. I want all my little tabs to match. I want to have less paper and stuff to get into things for. But I think it's going to be a preference, again, a personal preference thing. You may already have them labeled on the outside with the date and what's in there, and then you can get all those pockets into chronological order really quickly, and then go through each pocket to sort by event and actually get them labeled. So I would say it's a toss-up. Melanie Cravens from YouTube says, and once you get them sorted, put them out of reach of anyone who will knock them over and cause you to have to sort them again. That is a great point. And also going to take me into the comment about purging and how to purge photos. Purging photos is really, really tough for everyone because you feel like, somehow throwing away a photo of your child or your spouse or even the dog is somehow being disrespectful or whatever, right? Two things. Obviously, with digital photos, we've come a long way of having so many more photos. It used to be, when I was a kid, the pictures of me as a kid, you had to keep the blurry and bad photos, the photos that didn't really tell a story, because you were so limited in the number of photos that you had. So if you wanted to remember that I had that pink and turquoise striped pantsuit with the big yellow flowers on it, which is very hip and cool in the early 70s, you had to keep that horrible picture where everything's kind of blurry, but you can see that pantsuit. We don't have to do that anymore, right? So I would definitely advocate keeping a few bad photos of your family just because they're fun. But in general, why do you need those, right? It goes back to kind of the same thing we were talking about paper, and we're going to talk about it in every category. The more things you have, the more things you have to go through to find the things you love, right? So keep that in mind. Now, I am going to tell you, I'm going to go. So yes, you need to be able to purge photos, even if you need to write yourself some reasons that you can go back to about why you should be purging those photos. You no longer need to keep, in the last, digital's been a thing. London's going to be 25 this year. The majority of his life. So at least 20 years, we've got these great digitals. Beyond that, I'm going to say, yeah, you want to keep those because that's all you have. Are the blurry ones, right? So that's a different story. But you need to get in your head about digital and how we have so many more photos than we ever had. I mean, think about it. People my age, mid-50s, there's only pictures of us during special things, right? Birthdays, Christmas, Easter, maybe if you took a holiday vacation, right? It wasn't like we take pictures now, which are all the time of everything. So now we have pictures. I mean, I literally torture my children by sending them pictures of the cactus flowers in my garden, right? I got it.
Daily.
The big cactuses only bloom for one 24-hour period. So you really got to maximize that thing. Okay, so that's one thing to remember. There are more pictures than we've ever had. The other thing, as we get into the digital photos, is you don't want to look through 200 pictures every time you want to scrap. And we're going to address that when we talk about project planning and grouping pictures together, those ready to scrap pictures, and how to make those decisions as well. So that'll adjust for some of that. But the purging part of it, we definitely need to get our heads around. Now, once your pictures are organized and they're in chronological order, I'm going to tell you chronological order is the best. Don't sort by, these are pictures of my husband, these are pictures of London, these are pictures of Max, these are pictures of this trip, whatever it is. Everything should go into chronological order initially, because if something happens, anybody else in your family or group is going to understand chronological order when they're looking for those pictures. They may not understand whatever system you have dreamed up in your head. The other thing, so that's one. The other thing is, once you start segmenting things off into a nonsensical organization system, something that doesn't follow your brain, right? So we talked in the first GOC about creating those patterns in your head and how much your brain loves to follow a pattern and how easy it is to remember. When you start segmenting pictures out before you're actually ready to scrap them, then your brain has to remember what you were thinking and how you were thinking and why you were thinking in order to find where you put those pictures. So I'm going to strongly encourage you to keep things in chronological order initially, and then pull from that chronological order when you're actually ready to scrapbook those pictures. And that's going to be another segment of organizing those pictures into what's ready to scrap. But our first thing is to get them into that order. Once you have them into that order, then you can start sorting them into ready to scrap. And when you do ready to scrap, you've got to make a couple decisions before you start organizing ready to scrap. The first thing that you want to think about is, how many pictures am I going to put on a page? First thing. And the second thought is, how many pages do I want to do about this event? Now, that freaks people out, right? Like, people are like, how do I know how many pages I want to do with the event? Well, if you don't know, who does, right? You just have to choose. You have to decide how many pictures you're going to put on a page and how many pages you're going to do for that event. So for me, with scrapbooking, what's important to me when I create my pages, and this might not be true for you, but what I'm going to encourage you to do is think about what is true for you, what is important for you when you're scrapbooking. So for me, what's important is that I want to create pages that tell the story and are engaging enough that the people looking at the story, reading the story, want to continue. So if you think that you are going to put 16 double page spreads together of you and your family walking around Disneyland, because every picture that you took at Disneyland you want in your scrapbook, at some point the people looking at the pictures are going to get tired of that because it doesn't really move the story along. So for me, is it moving the story along? Is it capturing what's happening? And what am I trying to capture? Am I trying to capture the Disneyland trip? Am I trying to capture the styles of the day? Whatever it is, right? So, and I got a couple questions coming in. Okay. I'm going to go back to both of those. Okay. Sorting pictures. So for me, 6 pictures is my number for a layout. That's the most 4x6 photos I can fit on a 12x12 layout. 6. That's going to help me choose when I do the ready to scrap part of my thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose how many pictures, and then I'm going to choose how many layouts for that picture. Now I'm going to go into this in depth when we do challenge number 7 and we talk about project planning. So I'm just planting that seed for you right now. This week, I want you to get everything in chronological order. But then I'm going to know for ready to scrap. Okay, I'm going to put 6 pictures to a page. And then I'm going to say, how many pages am I going to do for this event? Max's swimming lesson. How many pages do I need to do for Max's swimming lesson? Max on Max's swimming lesson is going to be 1 double page spread, 2. Max number of photos I need to choose for that is going to be 12, right? So when I'm going through and organizing, I can pull those best 12 photos and say, these are my ready to scraps right here. Then when I'm ready to scrap Max's swimming lesson, I've already done that sort. I can go right to the box by calendar or the box by calendar, depending on what I'm storing, pull out the swimming lessons photos and be ready to go. What you don't want to happen is when you go to that stack of photos, you don't want to pull out the whole stack, because what happens, you start going, oh, look at that. Max was so cute when he was learning to swim. Oh, look at that. And then you're with a group of people at a crop and you're like, look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at this. And now you're not getting anything done, and neither are the people that you're crafting with, right? But if you say, okay, I'm going to do a double page spread of Max. Here's the 12 pictures that I've chosen. This is how they're going to lay out or how they could lay out. Then you can decide that's not enough, which is probably not going to happen. You're probably going to say that's too many. I'm going to put 4 on each page. I'm going to have a few pictures left over. Again, I'm going to get into that in more depth as we talk about the project planning as we go. So when you're sorting, you can add those notes right into your boxes, which is kind of one of the nice things about. So this is the 4x6 fab file with files. So I've got it labeled, and then I've got this insert card in here, so I can add notes right to it while I'm actually sorting and putting them away into the box. But you can do the same thing. And so that 4x6 and the 5x7 fab file with file folders both have the cards and the file folders in them for sorting and organizing photos. You can do the same thing by adding a note into your file box. So like this, right? October, November, China, 2013, Guangzhou, Beijing, Xi'an, Hong Kong. It's all right here. It's going to go into a photo box. Well, this is not going to fit in this one, but if you're using the bigger shoe boxes, now you've got your notes and your photos sorted and ready to go right in that sorting system. So, which brings me to the question here. When you're talking about storing those, Rhonda says, Findel, do you recommend printing or, oh no, sorry, Kathy Davis. Rhonda, I'm coming back to you. Kathy Davis says, how do you handle panorama photos that have events that also match some of your 4x6 photos? Always a challenge to the different sizes, right? So do you just go with 5x7, even though the majority of your pictures are 4x6, but some are 5x7? And then what do you do with things that aren't that size? Do you mostly have 4x6s? And then what do you do with the things that are bigger than that? Again, personal preference on those things. But we're going to do the same thing with your panoramic photos as we talked about with paper last week. We're going to tie things together, right? So you are going to have mementos, memorabilia, oversized photos, school pictures that are big, that type of thing. So the majority of your pictures are going to fit in a regular photo storage box. What do you do with those extra things? You just put a note. So if I had a panoramic photo, that belonged in this set. Well, it doesn't have any information on it, so that belonged in this set. I'm just going to put a note at the bottom that says panoramic photos are boom, and where they are. They're in an 8.5 by 11, maybe fab file with that's by the same years, that's by the same dates. But I'm going to put that note on there so that I know exactly where to go to find that. And you're going to find that we do the same thing when we talk about mementos, memorabilia. We're going to label our photo information with the memorabilia and label our memorabilia with the photo information. Again, a little bit of work up front is going to save you tons of time on the back end. If you've ever completed a scrapbook layout and then 6 months later you find at the bottom of your desk drawer those mementos or that memorabilia that would have been perfect on that scrapbook page, and now you're backtracking to work it in, this is going to solve that problem for you. But it takes a little bit of work up front and a little bit of work on the back end. So I would choose your storage based on the majority of your photos. And then I would work in tying together things that don't fit. There's not a lot of things that don't fit. It's going to be panoramic photos. It's going to be that occasional 8x10 school photo or something like that. And then there's mementos. So coming out, boy, I think maybe even this month, the project planner memento keeper is going to be available, and that is going to take care of all of those little bits and pieces for when you're ready to start project planning. You're going to be able to put your photos of any size in there, as well as the mementos, any special things that you've purchased. So it's going to make it easy to keep all those things together. The key here is linking things together as you come across them. So you may need, in addition to your 4x6 or 5x7 boxes, you may need an 8.5 by 11 fab file or a 12x12 fab file and pockets that you're going to, put the dates on or the years on so that you can go back and tie those things together. So think about that as you're planning what you need. I think we're going to talk about that in a minute anyway. Okay, digital photo storage. Exact same thing. We're going to do the exact same thing, but we're just going to do it in the digital world. You're going to start with a box that's labeled photos, but now it's a file. And then within that box, you're going to have years. And within each year, you're going to have the chronological photos, and within those chronological photos, you're going to have ready to scrap pictures, right? So you might have Disney, 2010 and ready to scrap Disney photos. Exactly the same process that you're going to use. It's just going to be digital. So question that I ignored earlier, from Rhonda. Do you recommend printing or tagging photos you want to scrap while sorting your digital photos? Yes. Yes, I recommend tagging all of your photos or renaming all of your photos. I recommend a consistent dating method. So when you, this is my little cheat note here. When you're labeling your photos, if you want them all to appear in chronological order, then you have to label them using the year, a 2-digit month, and a 2-digit day, and you have to be consistent about it. And that'll keep everything in chronological order, all of your photos. Makes it really, really easy. I literally wrote my way that I was organizing on my perpetual calendar, which I'm going to talk about in a minute as well, so I remember how I wanted to do it. So if I brought up all my photos and they were all labeled with this dating system first, they're all automatically going to be in chronological order. That makes it really easy. If you put the month first or the day first, and you do use a 2-digit 07 for July versus or you choose a single digit 7 for July, Your computer is not going to know how to deal with that, right? It's going to put things in order differently. So start with the year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and you'll be able to sort everything chronologically, correctly all the time. I totally also recommend giving all of your photos a major piece of information in the name. The date, Disney, comma, London. Disney, comma, characters. Disney, comma, London, comma, Max, comma, characters. Whatever it is, those are the main things that you would think about when you're looking for those photos or when you're searching for those photos. You don't have to put everything, because if you say, okay, I want to see pictures of London in 2010, you're going to be able to type in London, that 2010, and you're going to get every picture, birthdays, Christmas, Halloween, Disney, that says 2010 in London. If you add Disney in, now you're only going to get Disney pictures with London in that year, right? But you're also going to then locate where the rest of the Disney pictures are from 2010. So if you say Disney 2010 London, it's going to bring up that picture, and then you're going to be able to look at, oh, what file is this in? And you're going to be able to go right to the file and see all the rest of the Disney pictures for that. So don't worry about putting long, detailed definitions or descriptions in that name. Get the date in there and get 2 or 3 pieces of major information, because then when you search your computer, everything's going to pop up chronologically for that person, place, thing, whatever it is that you're categorizing. So absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes we make with photos, and you all know, my husband's a photographer, right? That is what he does. That is what he is passionate about. He cannot find 90% of the pictures that he's taken because he skips this step. I don't know why he doesn't listen to me. He skips this step. He downloads things and just leaves the metadata there as the name, which includes the date, but then he doesn't have a journal or family timeline or whatever you want to call it, so that he can go, oh, I want the pictures from Baja, and at least go and know what the date was to look for those pictures from Baja. So I do keep a family timeline and a journal. So when he says to me, I can't find the pictures from Baja, I go to my family timeline and I go, oh, that was, December of 2016. And then I can go on his computer and I can find his pictures, even though he hasn't labeled them. Make it easy on yourself. Download everything. Highlight all the pictures at the same time. Put the date. Put a major name or title at the very minimum, and then save them into that file folder so that you can find them later. So again, spending that tiny amount of time up front is going to make it so much easier finding things later and organizing things later, right? So don't download from your camera or do whatever you're doing until you know that you're going to sit down and do that all one time.
Somebody asked a question that I'd never thought about before. When you look up photos of me and look at our trip to London, does that get confusing?
Yes.
That's your own fault.
I actually label LT as London. So that's my next thing. I guess I was going to talk about that with my perpetual calendar. The less keystrokes, the better, right? The less time you have to spend. So coming up with some codes for how you label the people in your life is going to make it easier on a number of levels. I'm going to use my sister as an example. My sister, Teresa, who all of you know I love and adore, was born with the name Teresa. Then as a kid, we called her Tisa. And that at a certain point in her life, she decided she wanted to use her middle name, Irene, which was my grandmother's name. So she went to Irene. And then she started a professional business career. And then she moved back to Teresa. My kids call her Tiga, the great aunt Tisa. There are all these names out there for Tisa. And if I used all those names, it would be hard to search and find all the pictures of Tisa. So if I go to my April calendar here, so this is a perpetual calendar. If you've never seen one of these, all it is, you're supposed to put a little scrapbooky thing here. All this is the month, and then there's just 1 through 31, 1 through 29, whatever the month allowed, 1 through 30. And it's for birthdays. It's for keeping track of birthdays because your birthday never changes. My sister's birthday is April 13th. And so right here, I wrote her birthday on the 14th, but I know it's April 13th.
Are you sure? It's on your perpetual calendar?
It's on my perpetual calendar. So maybe it's because I'm always late with birthday things. Maybe that's why I could blame it on this. Her birthday is April 13th. It's right around the corner. I think that might be HSN Day this month, actually. So it says, Tisa, it says the year that she was born, so I can remember how old she was, which isn't difficult because she's only a year older than I am. And then in this orange highlight is how I code every picture of her, which is Tisa, T-I-S-A, short and easy. For London, it's LT. For Max, it's MAX. I try to keep everything as short as possible, so I have the least number of keystrokes. But like I use the code on the back of this for the date to keep my dates on track, I use the name codes, I use the holiday codes. Xmas is Christmas, 40J is 4th of July, SB is spring break. And that way, when I'm typing a title or typing a name, I can use those abbreviations consistently through all of my sorting. And you got to write them down. You got to write them down. That's all there is to it. I think, let's see. So as you're adding people and birthdays, I'm trying to see here if I have anything else in here I'm forgetting to tell you to write down. Halloween is HW, right? So Thanksgiving is TG. You don't have to do it on a perpetual calendar like this. You could just do it on a list next to your computer or on your computer. But getting those consistent things down is going to allow you with digital photos to search for whatever it is you're looking for, quick and easy. So if I wanted all pictures of Tisa on Thanksgiving and I type in Tisa, TG in my search function, every picture I have taken that Tisa's tagged in that was also at Thanksgiving is going to come up, right? So super helpful, especially if you're trying to do some chronology thing when your kids are getting married or graduating or whatever, and you want to pick up certain things in a certain order. It's a great way to do that. And it doesn't take very long, but you got to have your cheat sheet or you'll be like, oh, Thanksgiving was at THKGV, right? Whatever it is, make a cheat note and it'll be so much easier. But absolutely, you want to tag those pictures. Using a perpetual calendar is a great way to do it. You can do it on a spreadsheet as well. Now, the printing question. If you print your photos before you're ready to scrap them, then you have to store them in the physical world.
Ooh, like I had something from Lori Patterson. Write everything down. The strongest mind is weaker than the palest ink.
Ah, did you guys hear that? That is awesome. Lori Patterson says, write everything down. The strongest mind is weaker than the faintest ink. And it's so true. Like our brains can only hold so much and things get pushed out when more important things come in. So make it easy on yourself. Get that list so that you can, in the big picture, it's going to be worth the time. I love that quote. All right. Printing. So that's another personal preference thing. Do you want those pictures to exist in the real world? For most of us, we're not caught up on our scrapbooking, so there's really no reason to get way ahead with photo printing, right? Not to mention the fact that photo printing gets better all the time. So if you print something now that you're not going to scrapbook for 2 years, there may be better, longer lasting, more vibrant color photos for less money available in the future. So that's one thing. But if you're someone who just likes to have it in the real world, go ahead and print them. What I would recommend that you do is follow the title of the file that they're in, Disney 2010 -P. These have been printed, and then include a note in that file of where you put them. So if you have everything in your chronological order, I would just put a note in there that says these are filed in, the 2010 box under January or under June or whenever you went. But that big capital P will alert you to the fact that, yes, I've actually printed these. Now I need to find them. And again, including that note. Same thing as we're talking about what we talked with paper, putting the sheet of paper in that shows all the little sample papers for a particular collection, putting a note down that says where your panoramic photos are or where your mementos are, same kind of thing. These have been good, and where are they is going to make it really key. Okay. All right. So I think that's all the questions so far, right? Perfect. Okay. Ooh, we're going to be on time today. Okay. So I wanted to share a couple of other quotes with you before we talk about what you need to do for this week's challenge. And the first one is one that I absolutely love from Abraham Lincoln. There are no bad pictures. That's just how your face looks sometimes, right? It's true. A picture only captures what's really happening and how you really look. And I think it's important. London's laughing. I'm laughing. I think it's important to remember life is funny. Pictures are funny. Ugly pictures are funny, and they're great for torturing people with. I'm going to tell you, I know some of you probably want to appreciate my sense of humor, or my husband's sense of humor. So one of the things that my husband and I do is harass each other. And it is hysterical, and it is fun, and we laugh about it all the time. My favorite way to harass my husband, and you're going to see some of this when my new Life in the Wick blog launches, which won't be probably till June. But I have this whole little segment, which my sons can attest to, and it's called Asleep or Not Asleep. My husband wears sunglasses all the time. Sometimes he's just relaxing in a chair, and sometimes he's asleep. And so I make these videos where I scan in on it, and then I'm like, you have 2 seconds to decide, is Park asleep or not asleep? And then the next part of the video, he'll be like, get that camera out of my face, or he'll be like this, asleep. But you got to guess before we get to that part of the video. So,
however, whether or not he's asleep or not, he'll never admit it.
Right, he won't admit it. So you have to, when he's actually sleeping, you have to catch him doing some sleeping thing like snoring or whatever. But it is very entertaining to me, and he pretends to be annoyed about it, but I think he enjoys it. So anyway, but photos are ugly sometimes, and that's just part of life. Life is ugly sometimes. So I would definitely recommend keeping a few ugly photos. And we have an ugly photo contest this week. So as you're going through and sorting your photos, set aside the ugliest photo you come to. Now, you don't have to participate in this. It isn't mandatory. It's totally just for fun. If you don't want to air your ugly photo, don't feel like you have to. It is a completely fun activity for those of us who like to laugh at ourselves and the world in general. But you do have to post it up and let everybody look at it and comment on your ugly photo. So whether you want to participate or not, it's totally up to you. On either side, you can comment, you can look, you can vote, whatever, or you can totally abstain from the whole ugly photo thing. But anyway, so post those up this week, and Katie will get some information up. This is news to Katie, I think, about the ugly photo contest. Usually what we do is post your ugly photos in the comments here, and then they all end up in one stream. So watch for that. And then also, this is by Lucy Montgomery, nothing is ever really lost to us as long as we remember it. So I think the most important thing about this whole process and scrapbooking in general is keeping those memories alive. And I'm going to share another little personal story with you. When London was just 2, maybe maybe 26, 28 months, but fairly young. And Max was a new baby. We went to the beach, KVI Beach in Seattle. And I took pictures and I scrapbooked this. And London saw them from the time that he was to whatever, in a couple of months. And that was something that he regularly looked at, were the scrapbooks that I was doing. And for years into his young life, that trip, that day at KVI Beach was something that he remembered because he constantly saw it. And so not just if you're a little kid, but even if you're an adult, like just looking back through those scrapbooks and keeping those memories alive and keeping those mostly happy thoughts and all the joy of whatever has happened in your life. When you just flip through that scrapbook, you get that sense, and you build your memory. So we're always talking about this, right? Make things repeatable, make them systematic, make it easy for your brain to remember. And that is one of the key things that scrapbooking does. Whether you're the creator of the scrapbook or family member of the scrapbooker, seeing those things over and over again reinforces those memories and makes them more a part of you and the stories that are who you are. One last little thing here before I do the challenge. If you don't currently keep one of your scrapbooks out on your coffee table, you absolutely should. People love them. They enjoy them. It will also encourage you to look at them more often, especially if you rotate them around. When my kids were growing up, we had these events at Christmas time and at Halloween at our house, and 4th of July, I guess, too. But those were the Christmas and Halloween were the big ones. And I always put scrapbooks out on tables, and all of our friends and family would come, and everybody at the party would rotate through that seat or seats and look through those books. And so it was really a great way to share all the work that you've done scrapbooking, but people really enjoy seeing your story if you make it available to them. So get one of your scrapbooks out on the table. Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing this week? What's your challenge? The first thing you're going to do is establish your physical and computer filing systems. Okay, so you're going to do a physical system, you're going to do a digital system. They're going to be the same, just one in the real world and one in the digital world. You're going to create your family timeline. So whether you're putting together your book or you're using index cards or you're actually going to run a timeline across your wall, you're going to decide on that and start that process. It doesn't have to be fancy. If you're using a book, I just put tags for each year down the side so I could flip to that year and add things as they came up for me. So even a few little like memento things I've popped in there that I found as I was organizing. There were small things that were stuck in with photos. So when I get to the memento phase, I can pop them out of there or remember to use them when I get to the timeline. Then you're going to sort 2 boxes, piles, drawers, whatever they are, of photos. However you have them bunched up, you're going to sort 2 of them. One thing I didn't talk about was getting people to help you sort photos. Most of the stuff that we're sorting and organizing, we really can't use helpers with because of the way we think about things. You know, does this go in sports? Does this go in Christmas? Where does it, does this go in travel? Where's it going to go? It has to be the way that your brain works. Photos are 100% objective, right? It is a picture. It is a Christmas picture. There's no 2 ways about it. It is 2010. There's no 2 ways about it, which means you can have your family members help you sort and organize photos. So if you do family game night or family home evening or anything like that, this is a great project to do on that night because you'll get more done. You'll have a ton of fun. I'm going to encourage you to get a notebook and keep it next to you while your family is sorting, because what your family remembers from that event and what you remember from that event are going to be completely different things. And it will give you an opportunity to jot down notes about what each family member says or remembers. And then you can include that right there with the photos as you're sorting them. So you're going to get some input from family, possibly friends, about particular events, and you're going to get more sorted. So I strongly encourage you to get some helpers on that. So if you're going to sort 2 boxes, piles, drawers this week, unless you have a family night where you're doing it, and then you're going to add 1 more box for each family member that's helping you. Whew, it's going to be a tall order. Sort 1 year of digital photos. If you're still sorting paper, you want to sort 4 inches of paper. You're going to post on Facebook your progress, and also post on Facebook if you want to enter the ugly photo contest. And then you're going to enjoy your reward, right? That's a key piece of this whole thing, is enjoying that reward. So let me make sure I didn't get that. Okay, last question, I got it. Okay, so with that, we are off and running. There are some... Well, I'm going to just tell you, I believe that in the follow-up email there is going to be a Get Organized Challenge coupon code. So if you need 4x6 organization or 5x7 organization, or you want to use the 8.5x11 or the 12x12 fab file to group your oversized items chronologically as well, that if we get the coupon code finalized today, I know that we're working on it, but I haven't seen the email on it yet. We'll get it out. We'll get a post up, Katie. If not, it'll be in your follow-up email tomorrow. If you are not getting the follow-up emails, it may be that you didn't sign up since we changed. So some of you used to be on the Get Organized Challenge list. This new website, we had to start a new list. So go to the Get Organized Challenge page and sign up. If you don't get, and then if you don't get the email, check your junk mail, because once you jump on that list, you should be getting it. If you don't receive it though tomorrow afternoon, feel free to email customer service and we will track it down and make sure you're on the list. But look in your junk mail first, please. Yes, Lennon.
There have been several questions about whether or not there's going to be an ugly paper contest.
I totally forgot about the ugly paper contest because Karen used to handle that always for me. That was kind of her baby. I had a note about the ugly photo contest. If you are somebody who's done the challenge before and you set aside your ugly paper, just hang on to it, because when we do ugly embellishments, which will be next week, you can enter paper in the ugly embellishment contest as well. So we'll kind of tie them together at the same time next week. So there'll be paper and embellishment competition for your ugliest paper and ugliest embellishment going on next week. All right, I think that's it. Should we wrap it up? I'll talk really quickly for those of you who want to stick around about the few things that we make that organize photos, so you know what you're looking for on the website and what's available. First thing, which I didn't mention at all in class, is the flip and storage binder that comes with pages that are 4x6 and 5x7. Why do I love this? Because I can put an entire layout of pictures in each pocket. So you can see I've got, this is a little road trip that we did. There are pockets on the front and pockets on the back. My back pockets are empty at the moment. So you can group by whole layout. So this is part of the flip and storage. This is the flip and storage binder page. So you can find that if you, it should be under photo organization, but you can also search flip and storage binder. So that's a great tool to use. Of course, you have the 4x6 and the 5x7 fab files. Both of these come with the file folder and with pockets instead. So if you prefer to group your pictures in pockets, this is the file folder, right? That's what that looks like. Let me see if I have a pocket down here that's got photos in it. I did. Oh, here we go. Or you can use just the pockets, right? So either way, difference. The file folders come in the box. There are 6 file folders in each box. They have the insert sheet that you can take out when you're done with it and put another note in there, right? It's removable. The files will fit 6 in a box, and that is all they will fit. So you can't buy additional file folders because 6 are all that fit in there, okay? The pockets get bigger, thicker, or thinner depending on how many photos are in each pocket. Also plastic, also reusable. Also you can also put your note in there of your, your journaling notes or whatever as you sort your pictures. And then of course the pocket number is going to vary. So you can get as many as 10 or as few as 10 or as many as 25 pockets in each of these boxes. Again, either 5x7 or 4x6. So if you want more pockets and less folders, then I would go with the box. And then they're too tall for that. Yeah, I would go with the box and pockets instead of the box and file folders. So there are those 2 options. Now, if you are organizing your photos into binders by layout, by event, then we do both the 6x6 page. And again, this is a double page layout. I'm going to talk more about this when we do project planning. But so I've got 6 pockets, 6 pictures in each pocket. So this is a left side, right side, double page layout. So I've got 3 double page layouts where I've pre-planned. That is the 4x6 size. This is the 5x7 size. So the fantastic 5 page or the Perfect 6 page are also going to hold photos. And then, of course, question came up about the panoramics and bigger pages. So if you're putting them into one of our big craft binders and using the pages to sort and organize your photos, you can throw in those bigger pockets as well, right? So you might have a binder that's all 2010 and it goes January to December, but you're able to put in the 12 by 12 pocket or the daily double, which has like the 8.5 by 11 size, or even use, for that matter, regular page protectors for things like mementos or 8.5 by or 8 by 10 photos, and keep those in chronologically as well. So those are just a few of the options for organizing your photos that we make. I know we're trying to get the website really dialed in so that you can see all those photo options on one page. But while they're working through that challenge, you may need to just look. These are fab files, flip and storage binder, or scrap wreck pages. I think that's it. So thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you all learned a lot. I hope you're motivated and inspired to get your photos organized. I'll be watching your posts on Facebook. Have a great week. Get a lot done. Thanks for tuning in.